attention, please. Thank you. Thank you. Just in case anybody doesn't know, my name is Chairman Tony Nunziato, and thank you for coming today. We met with Elise Stepanek, who's the number 3 in the Congress, actually number 4 in the Congress, number 1 in the state, Congresswoman. We have a lot of things going this year. You know, they said at the Asian community is called the GOP, the Great Grand Opportunity Party, which is excellent. You know, and that's what we have to work off. You know, we stand for a lot of different things. We have a lot of candidates here today, which I'm going to have them stand up and introduce themselves and what districts they run in. I just want to have, it's important that we all get together, we all work together. This is where we go forward, and we have the right target out there, make sure we do the right message, and we get New York back.
Exactly.
Let's get all New York back. I'm excited about the candidates we have, and I'm first going to start off first, a good friend of mine, and a cross-endorser, not a cross-dresser. He has to shake his head, you know who it is. My good friend and Councilman Robert Holden.
Well, only Tony Nunziato can do an indoor barbecue in August.
Thank you.
Right, very innovative. This is a new phenomenon. It's going to catch on, I guess.
Yes.
But we want to thank Tony because it's really a difficult job trying to put candidates up when we know it's an uphill climb, obviously. And I'm a Democrat in name only, some people will say. But I've been a Democrat all my life. But the party kind of went way, way left. So I'm still who I am. So the last time around, I ran 2 years ago. And I ran on the Republican line. I ran on the Democrat line. I ran on the conservative line. Got 3,500 more votes on the Republican line. So I think that's a record, so as a Democrat getting Republican votes. Why? Because common sense. And that's why we formed the Common Sense Caucus in the New York City Council. It's made up of 6 Republicans and 2 Democrats. So we hope to get more, and my goal is 6 Democrats, 6 Republicans, and 2 conservatives also. I want to get some conservative people elected. Because it doesn't matter, and we have a few, and Steve led the applause, but by the way, I have more lines on the ballot this year than hair on my head. Because thank you. He likes to tell me that. You do have a full head of hair, but that's about it. That's all right. Democrat line I have, and nobody ran against me, which was, you know, refreshing for a change. This is my last 2-year term. I have the Republican line. Again, thanks to you guys. Thanks to Tony Nunziato, who's delivered the line a couple of times now, 3 times actually. I have the conservative line because it doesn't matter, again, who you are. That's what you believe in, a conservative approach to things. So you could be a Democrat, you could be a Republican, but if you're conservative, again, you're consistent. You stand by your values. And we have to elect more conservatives in the council. God knows what we have now. We have more socialists. Listen to this. We have a lot more socialists than Republicans or conservatives in the New York City Council. Socialists. And I never thought I'd say that. Or you could even say another word, communists. That's who they are. They don't believe in free enterprise. So that's what I'm battling every day with the Common Sense Caucus. And thank God that, you know, we were asked in the last council, that was under Corey Johnson, I thought they had a lot of socialists. They had half the socialists that we have now in the New York City Council. But I asked in 2018, when I got elected, I asked the speaker, and I had a good relationship with Corey Johnson, even though he was far left. I said, I'd like to form a Common Sense Caucus. And he laughed at me. He said, what kind of name is that, Common Sense? Like the rest of us don't have common sense? And I said, yeah. So he didn't like that, so I didn't get, he just said, no, we're not doing that, Bob. That, you know. But then in 2021, when all those riots happened during the summer, remember that in 20 and then 20, guess who comes to me in the summer, right about now in 2021, we're running to the end of the term, but he says, he calls me in his office, says, Bob, could you form the Common Sense Caucus? We have to, and because everything went so crazy to the left that he wanted to bring the council more toward the center, and that we could form it, and I got his approval. So we formed it. By the time we got all the paperwork in, it was November of 2021, but we formed it. And it's now a force. It's a major force, at least, to kind of level out all the things that are going on in the council, to offer another voice. So when they do an anti-police hearing in the council, and they do a lot of those, here we come. Sometimes 6, 7, 8 of us to counteract and stop some of these crazy bills. And we were successful many times, believe it or not. And that's why we need a strong Common Sense Caucus in this council and the next council. So there's a lot of, and Marvin, Jeff, we have to get you elected in the neighboring district, because you'll be a Common Sense Caucus candidate, and certainly you're a Common Sense Caucus elected official in the New York City Council. Because if you look at what's happening around us, this is Maspeth, by the way, if some of you are from different areas, but if you look, open prostitution a half a mile away. If you look on Roosevelt Avenue, right, look at all the locations. Just walk outside, you'll see mayhem in the streets. Lawlessness that I haven't seen since the 1970s or 80s. And Tony and I fought all that. I mean, we've been civic leaders, and Tony's now Juniper Park Civic President, Queens GOP, hopefully future council member, right?
People want it.
Everybody, come on. So in the future, that, you know, again, these are the battles to save our city. How many people have thought about moving? Right? You see this? Look around. There's a lot. If you thought about it, not that you're going to do it, but if you thought about it. When I say I was born and raised here in Maspeth, I don't want to say, but 1951, and we had, again, it was a beautiful small town in a big city, and we cherished Maspeth. We came out on Memorial Day, we came out on all the holidays, we celebrated the 4th of July. We were proud Americans, and that's what you look. Maspeth is America. You see the billboard by the LIE on Grand Avenue from the bank. That's who, again, that's how I was raised. And all of us fought to keep it this way, to keep it small town in a big city. But we have to elect people that want to keep that tradition and believe in quality of life. Because again, if you look around this area, and we have Vicky Palladino fighting for us in Eastern Queens. We have certainly Joanne Areola in the South, but we don't have enough. We have Kalman Yeager, my good friend in the City Council in Brooklyn, Ina Vernikoff, Ari Kagan. And notice I'm talking about Republicans. You know, so I only have one conservative Democrat like me in the council, and that's Kalman Yeager. So that's why him and I, we formed the Common Sense Caucus, along with Joe Borelli from Staten Island. But we need to really unite. If you have differences in this room, leave them here. Again, aside, we have a common goal to bring back our city and to really build our city to a quality of life where we can raise our families and feel proud of our neighborhoods and not see prostitution, open drug use. People just riding scooters on the sidewalk, anything they want to do, they do, without a license. Everything we're seeing, migrants coming into the city, and we're paying for it. Our ancestors, again, my grandfather came from Italy, believe it or not, Nicola, who grew up here, came in the early part of the 20th century. Nobody gave them a hotel room. Nobody gave them, a cell phone. Nobody fed them. What'd they do? They helped each other. They raised families. My grandfather built 3 homes here in Maspeth. 3 homes. working night and day. But he did it. He did it legally. He waited in line, came from Italy, met my grandmother here, married, and had 6 kids. And again, and the Holdens were, grew up in Woodside. They were here since the Civil War. They were probably involved in the draft riots then. But they were civic leaders in Woodside. But they built neighborhoods. So we have to do that. We all have to work together. But I'm turning to the Republicans, a Democrat turning to the Republicans, because I believe in American values and keeping us all safe and supporting law enforcement. That was not. I never thought I'd be in a city council, first of all, but I never thought I'd be arguing to try to get more cops and having opposition, that we don't need cops. We need violence interrupters. Well, good luck if you call violence interrupters on a 911. But we need more cops, and we need more people that are going to respect the cops, not like what we're seeing now. And like I said, most of my colleagues, and some of them who are moderate Democrats, don't speak up. The only people speaking up are the Republicans or members of the Common Sense Caucus. The rest of my council members vote with the majority, and again, it's usually anti-police. So that's why we need candidates. Again, Bernie Chow, where's Bernie?
Right here.
Bernie's running. Bernie's been like a fighter for quality of life for quite some time. So anybody that comes from civics, anybody that works hard deserves your consideration. Not because of party. I don't vote party. There's Joanne Ariola, my Common Sense Caucus. I've known her for 35 years or something like that. But again, everyone here came up through civics and worked hard and earned their spot. So again, don't vote party. I know you're all Republicans here, but vote for the person. Always vote and do your homework. Look at the issues that they've raised over and over again. And if they're consistent, but stay away from the defund the police people. Even if they had that in their background, they're going to try to, change their spots. If they defunded the police, they voted years ago. If they did that, stay away, because they'll do it again. And we're heading in the wrong direction. This city has gotten worse. Everybody knows that. Just go outside. And again, Jumaane Williams doesn't believe there's a problem. We're the safest big city in America. He argues with me. And I pointed out that there's a lot of crime that's not being reported. You know that. What is it, 90,000 packages? How many people have their packages stolen? There's so many things going on. We go to the store, we see people stealing. If we order online, they'll steal our packages. If we drive on the street, we have to have eyes in the back of our heads. If we call 911, we're not sure the cops are going to arrive. That's what's going on, folks. And if they do come, chances are, if they make an arrest, that person's going to be out the next day. So we have our work cut out for us. But please, stay loyal to each other and actually vote for candidates that think like you, okay, that want to keep America and New York a great place to live and keep us free. We're under attack now. So this is probably the most important. I keep saying this every election, but this is probably the most important election ever in our lifetime. The next couple of elections are critical. So let's all get out, make sure you bring out people, but so many people don't vote. So many of us here don't vote sometimes. You find other things to do, but certainly do things like, I see Eric Buckowitz here, who's on the community board. He's a future, again, he's the, stand up, Eric, because everything we've asked him to do, the future of the Republican Party, but hopefully a future candidate that can change things when the rest of us are gone. But I want to thank you again for the indoor barbecue and thank Tony Nunziata. It's a great idea. It's cool, and then we have barbecue, and so Quite amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, John Ariola.
Thank you, Rob. Let's hear for Robert Holden, our candidate. And the reason we brought the barbecue indoors because some of our candidates are a little old. And they want to have no heat strokes. That's why we want it nice and comfortable for everybody. But seriously, Bob Holden has been civic leader for a long time. But everybody knows that the R is what is the right answer for the way we think. You know, I went to school, D means you failed. Well, the D party is making us all fail. Republican is the answer. All the people we running for candidates this year, they're the answer. So don't even think. Because only Bob is like 1 in a billion. You have a Democrat that thinks normal. Because otherwise you're a communist socialist. The answer is the R. Do it the right way, the R, not the D, the failing way. On that note, I'd like to bring up Councilwoman Joanne Ariola.
No, it's fine. I'll do it. Thank you, Bob. It's an honor to serve with Bob. And just before I got elected in 2021, Bob started the Common Sense Caucus. And that was a major, upset inside of the council chambers because they just couldn't imagine that the Common Sense Caucus would even get noted that you have to get sanctioned as a caucus, and they did. So I couldn't wait to become elected to become part of the Common Sense Caucus. And once we did, and we were at the time 7 of us, because we have Kalman Yeager in Brooklyn. So we would get together and we sit on a lot of committees. And they say, well, how can you make a difference in the city council? You know, there's such a minority. But the fact of the matter is, we sit on committees together. And oftentimes, if we vote against a bill, it's not going to get to the floor, depending on how many of us are on the same committee. Bob and I are on a number of committees together. He chairs veterans, and I sit on that. I chair fire and emergency management, and he sits on that. We're both on public safety. But our number is small, but we are very loud, and I think we're starting to be heard. We're starting to be heard by the more moderate Democrats that are in the chamber with us, that most recently left the Progressive Caucus because they wanted them to sign a paper that said, you need to defund the police. So 15 members of that caucus walked away from the Progressive Caucus. Now, they didn't have the guts to join us in the Common Sense Caucus, but I think that showed a turn in what people were thinking inside of that chamber. And they realized that the progressives are just going too far. And that will be their demise, is that they're going to go too far. What we're seeing now, we have, I'm sure Bob mentioned it, 97,000 plus migrants that came in. We're not calling them asylum seekers anymore because not all of them are asylum seekers. They're migrants, and some of them are just here illegally, just trying to come into our country. But we have no way of differentiating one from another because they're coming in droves. So if you notice, I was watching the news the other morning, and a bus pulled up, and we got 2,300 migrants that week. And a bus pulled up, and there were some families getting off, and children and women and some men. But then there was a bunch of people that just got off and didn't go into the welcome center, just took off in the other direction. So we don't even really have a good number as to how many people have come here from other countries. There's no way of knowing. But I will tell you that on the way here, on major thoroughfares, I saw women with children strapped to their bodies, with children sitting here, the toddlers in tree pits, while they're selling the world's finest chocolate or some type of fruit that's been cut up. It's dangerous. Bob, this week, and congratulations to you, I don't know a news media outlet that you weren't on, really talking about this crisis and how we have to get ahead of it. I was on New York One talking about this particular crisis with children interweaving in and out of lanes, selling any type of wares. It's dangerous. A child is going to die. We call the police move them on, but then they go to a different area, which is equally as dangerous. I was on the Belt Parkway 2 weeks ago, heading to my brother's on Long Island, and they were at, you know when you go up over onto the Rockaway Boulevard to the overpass? Selling on the Belt Parkway. What motorist is expecting children to come running across on the Belt Parkway? There's going to be tragedy. The other tragedy is we're not going to be able to afford them anymore. Talking now $12 billion. And I don't like to hear it when our administration says we need money. We do need money, but we also need a way out of this. And that's the plan that Bob and I are not hearing. What's our way out of this? When does it stop? When does the flow stop? When do we start to say no? When do we send them to other states that are also sanctuary states? Why are we, in the city no less, getting the lion's share of every migrant that comes into this state? Kathy Hochul now wants to put them in all our federal forts. Our colleagues in Staten Island just had a very large rally outside Fort Wadsworth. These are not places to put migrants in tents. A few weeks ago, we rallied outside of Aqueduct. Weeks before that, people I think in this room were outside Creedmoor, Fort Tilden, Floyd Bennett Field. We cannot allow it to happen. So now we just have to say no. We have to lock arms and just say no. No to the administration. And no to these tent cities where thousands of men will be housed. There's a facility at JFK, has close to 1,000 migrants in there, single in. None of them vetted, no backgrounds. We don't know where they came from or what they've done in the country of origin. That's undermining our public safety. And when you then pair that with a police force that has been depleted in the numbers of people who are police officers, they gave a test recently, 1,800 applicants. Only 1,800 applicants to become a police officer. 18,000 applicants to become a sanitation worker. Why? Because they've lost the respect that they have as a police officer when they put on their uniform. So why would anyone want to become a police officer? So if we don't have the police, then how can we be protected? So Bob and I work together with our colleagues, Joe Borelli, David Carr, Ina Vernikoff, Vicky Palladino, Kalman Yeager. We work together every day to try to come up with a cohesive way to vote and change things. He said it before, Bob. Don't give up. We're not giving up. I watched a documentary of things that were happening in the late 70s. And we were in pretty bad shape then. But it turned around. It turned around the day that a Republican was elected, Rudy Giuliani. And it can happen again. It's going to happen in this cycle. I think that Democrats who think that they can win because of the nature of their enrollment, I think they're really wrong. We are seeing areas that are 6-1, 4-1, 8-1. Democrats or Republican elect Republicans. Not because, and these are Democrats have to vote for us in order for us to get elected. They're so disenchanted with their party because their party has left them. When I say left them, it's because they went so far left. That's the issue. That's not their party. When I have former Democratic district leaders calling me and saying, Joanne, what we really need is a Republican president to get us out of this. What does that tell you? These are the common sense people. And in the city council, we put in common sense legislation, and we've been successful in passing legislation because we are now a block. We're 8. And come this November, more Republicans will be elected to the city council. And those of us who... Yep. And they will usually become part of the Common Sense Caucus. But Bob, myself, David Carr, Joe Borelli, we really are blessed because we don't have opposition. So what we've done now is dedicated our time and efforts to those who have a race, like Vicky Palladino in this borough. She needs each and every one of your help. We cannot afford to lose a member. We need to gain members. So if you have a moment to go and do calls for her and such, just give her office a call, and in fact, we'll circulate a number, and this way you can help her. It's important that Ina Vernikoff in Brooklyn maintains her seat. It's important that Ari Kagan takes that seat in 47. Because Justin Brannan has been voting against the police and to defund the police for decades. He's never supported the police. I don't know that we could take 2 more years of Justin Brannan.
Fuck Justin Brannan. Fuck Justin Brannan.
Everybody in this room knows it's the right thing to do. This is the choir, we're preaching. But we have some races that really need help. We have candidates in this room. Raise your hand if you're a candidate running for city council. That's right. Make sure that if you know people in those areas, to get them out to vote. But I think you're going to be surprised how many people will go in and vote down the Republican line. 2 years ago, with Bob Holden running in the 30th and me in the 32nd, Judge Joseph Casper was elected to civil court. This year, I'm confident that with Vicky Palladino running in the 19th and Bill Shanahan running in what district is it for the civil?
It's 6.
Civil 6. Because of the strength of Vicky as a candidate, we can get Bill Shanahan to the civil court as well. Inch by inch, chip away at the stone until it crumbles. And then we are once again at a place where our children can go to public school safely, and we can walk down the street without getting mugged, and we can once again take the subway, and we can feel safe just walking out and putting our garbage out. That's not the city we live in now, but it is the city that Bob and people like us at the city council are working towards. So thank you so much, Chairman. You're doing an amazing job. You really are. And that comes from someone who's been there, and I just couldn't wait to take my shoes off and throw them at you. I told her it was a great job, don't worry. But you know, that's what was told to me. Don't worry, it's not a lot of work, it's fine. But anyway, thank you, Tony. You're an amazing chairman and friend. God bless.
Thank you. Let's hear it for them. It was hard to fill her high heels, I want to tell you right now. But
You could do it.
I could do it too. Bob showed me how to do it. So those are the 2 candidates that we have right now that we're backing for the Republican Party. I just want to introduce all our candidates right here. I'm going to start off right at the top of the ticket. Right now we have Mike Massa running for DA. Come up. Keep going. And also we're going to go right down to Bill Shanahan, which I know he could do it on his own to become a Supreme Court judge. Hold on one second. Here's Mike Massa.
How's everybody doing? Thanks, Tony.
we had a great fundraiser yesterday. We had it down in Jamaica, so we're going to all parts of Queens. It was thrown by a Guyanese lady who's a good friend of ours, a good client, and it's a good omen. She threw Joe Casper a similar backyard party, and it worked out for him, so hopefully it'll work out for me. I'd just like to introduce Catherine McGovern, who's helping me every step of the way. This is my campaign manager. I'll be really brief. We're going to battle on the campaign trail, and I'd like to thank Councilwoman Ariola. She said the most important word, no. We got to stand up and tell them no. Every time there's a stupid idea, they have to be called out. Closing Rikers Island, no. Bail reform, somebody should have said no. Sanctuary cities, somebody should have said no. What did Eric Adams think? Did he think that Joe Biden would secure the border when they had sanctuary cities? Now he's got an emergency on it. Okay? These are self-inflicted wounds, and we have to call these people out. Okay? And we have to battle every step of the way. So let me give the mic back to Tony, and thank you very much.
Make sure. Mike Mercer, that's a DA. Very important that we get our DA in. Now we're going to Bill Shanahan. We're going to bring him right up. We're going to say a couple of words. Tell him what you're running for. I'm just going to bring the candidates up. Tell them whatever you're running for, and most after this to the city council.
Thank you, everyone. It's on the ballot. My name is William David Shanahan, but most people know me as Bill. I wanted to tell Councilman Holden, I have a very similar story as he told you. My